Hello YouTube, and welcome back to Brewing with Magic. Well, today we are going to focus on deck building and exactly how we go about doing it over here at the Brew Crew. There's many ways to do it, but this is going to be how we approach it, me and Will over here. So there's two different ways we're going to look at today. One is homebrew or from the ground up a brand new deck, and the other one's going to be copy paste or a net deck style deck. So, before we get into that, I would also like to remind you the best way to maximize on your gold every day is to make sure you're resetting one of these every day, trying to attempt to get a 750. So, like, I just missed that one. So, now today I'm going to have to complete one of these. I usually don't complete it unless it's a 750 or I have to because I'm going to miss out on a quest the next day. So I'll probably just, I've already got one kill here, kill 15 more opponents' creatures, get that one out of the way, and just try to maximize on my gold by getting the 750s as often as possible. Speaking of maximizing, help us maximize the channel by subscribing, by liking the video, and also leaving a comment down below. We are giving away 3,400 gems for free once we hit 100 subscribers. So please help us achieve that milestone by sharing this video with your friends. Thank you very much. Now without further ado, let's get into how we build a deck. First off, let's start off with a homebrew deck. So first we'll click the plus button, we'll get that going, and a few things I like to do before I get going. First, let's go ahead and call it standard because that's what we're going to build as a standard deck. Then let's go up here and click on the lands and take off suggested lands. Then let's unclick that. Now I'm going to build it in this view, but we're going to come into this view real quick and we're going to name the deck. So there's a few things you have to do when you're building a deck from the ground up. You've got to think to yourself, what's my main theme? What am I going to do with this deck? What do I want to accomplish? So you can either start out by saying you want to be a rush deck, a mid-range deck, a control deck. You could start out by saying, I want to be Dimir, I want to be mono red. Or you could see a card and you want to build around it. In this case, I think it would be fun with the new Strixhaven Vampire coming out. I'm going to build this deck as a standard deck for right now, but it's inspired me to build a Vampire tribal deck. And you won't know if you're building a deck that's going to be able to compete on the ladder or not until you test it out. So it's fun, just brew a deck and see what happens. So let's name the deck, and we're going to name it Vampires. Okay, so now we've got a theme, and we can build off of that theme now. So let's go ahead and let's shoot into our other view again. And then from there, the way I build a deck from the ground up is I just start putting all the cards that I think are going to be beneficial for the deck into the deck and just get as many cards in there as possible. I usually start out with between 80 to 120 cards when everything is said and done. So how do we do that? Let's start with vampires. Vampire. Okay, so let's look that up. The other thing to take into consideration is what colors are your deck going to be if you didn't start with, I want to go Dimir, I want to be mono red. If you didn't start with building the deck that way, then now we have to start seeing what we're going to do. So we know we want vampires. We type that in. Make sure in the advanced filters, you come on over here. You don't have to click standard because we've already picked it, but make sure you click not collected, just in case you don't have all those cards. And let's see what we've got. Now, I've got them all, but you can't add a card into your deck if you don't know that it even exists. So what do we want to do here? We want to look at the vampires and kind of get a basic shell for the deck. So we've got Expedition Skulker. We're going to go through them fast because this part could take forever, but it has death touches as long as we have another rogue. We're not really going that route. No synergy here. We gain and they lose life based on the number of creatures in your party. We're not really going party deck. I don't think that's synergistic. This one is a 2-drop, really good Menace Lifelink Vampire Cleric that also brings things back. Let's bring 4 of those into the deck. Whenever we gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. I don't think that's strong at all, but hey, maybe it will be. Nighthawk Scavenger, I know that's a great card. Let's put 4 of that. Tap an untapped rogue. Nope, we already don't want it. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, so I can already tell you that might be an inclusion. This could be, I know Vito is that's a vanilla vampire. We're not adding vanillas to our deck. That's a 4/3 lifelinker for 5. Doesn't seem super strong. Drain of the Last Blood Chief. That seems like one we'll slam 4 in. I'm missing 1, it looks like, but I just put the 4 in. Like I said, when I'm deck building, we're going to thin that down later. I probably don't want 4 anyways. Scion of the Swarm is a 3/3 for 5. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1. Maybe. If I do, it's not going to be 4, but like I said, I just like to add the 4. It's what I do. Whenever the Silence enters the battlefield, once again, we're not going with the party deck. Cleric of Life's Bounty is a vampire that gets +1s whenever you gain life for the turn, and you gain 1 life with their ability whenever a cleric comes into control. But look at this, our vampire cleric, that's 1 there. Here's a cleric. Here's a cleric. Here's a cleric. So I think that's an inclusion, and depending on how we thin out the deck and what creatures end up making the cut, we'll go ahead and we can keep that in or pull the Cleric of Lifebound out. This one is a 1/4 for 3, but whenever you gain 3 more life this turn, each opponent loses 3. Let's add that into the deck. Emerged from a Predator. This is a Vampire Dragon. But it does have red. We could put this in the deck. Land's great right now. Building a deck, you can just put as many colors you want. But let's see. Whenever a Predator becomes tapped, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard, which it doesn't have to be yours. I like that. And sacrifice another creature. Predator gains indestructible. So say we were to sacrifice something that comes back, like this Silvermoor Ghoul or something like that. So let's put that in the deck. And then we already have black-red here. This is a 1 for each creature in your party. Other creatures you have, you control in Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a Planeswalker. Nah, that one doesn't synergize as good. Once again, that's a party style. So, we've got some vampires in the deck. Way too many. So another thing you want to do is consider your land count before we go any further. So if you're building a rush deck, I like to start out at, before playtesting, 22 to 23 lands. If you're playing a mid-range deck, probably around 24, sometimes 25, especially if you have modal cards. And then a control deck, I start out at 26, maybe go to 27. And then asterisk Yorion, I like to start out at around 34 or 35 lands in an 80 card deck. So right now, we know that we're shooting for we're shooting for about 36 cards, because this is going to be more of a mid-range creature deck. So we're going to want 24 lands in the deck. So, 24 lands in the deck. So we're way over our card count, but that's okay. So what else are we going to need in this deck? We want some removal. So let's go. We know you kind of get used to this when doing this, but we're going to try to get some of the hard hitters. So let's get some Heartless Sacks in there. I'm just going to grab 3, because with removal, I hardly ever get 4 of anything. Let's get some Eliminates in there. Let's see, what do we want? We want some Blood Chief Thirsts. Let's get those in there. We're running a creature deck, so I don't know if we want any of the board wipes per se, because that could hurt us in the long run. But, you know, maybe we could play around certain things with an Extinction Event. So let's go ahead and get Extinction Event. Let's just grab 2 of those. And so that's a good removal package. But we're touching on the fact that we might be playing white and red right now. So what's strong in white and red? So red, let's see, Frost. Let's see, maybe we bring in some Frostbites. I don't know yet. Maybe we'll cut those. We would have to have some snow lands. And will we have enough snow lands with 3 colors to even get to there? I don't know. Maybe a Shock's a better inclusion. I like this picture here. So we've got those things. There's other red cards that we could put in the deck, but Bone Crusher, let's see, Bone Crusher, maybe we want those Bone Crushers in, but I mean, it does do 2 damage, and then later on becomes a creature, and we could sacrifice that creature to Emerge from Predator, so maybe we do want that in, who knows. And then lastly, we're touching on white, so you know, is there anything in white we don't have like a combo that we're trying to help set up or anything? We are low on 1 drops, so, and people just love, and by love I mean hate, this little pup. So let's just add some of those in, and let's see, Angel. But I have been wanting to play around with this Angel, Glorious Protector. I can't imagine having more than 2 in the deck. It's kind of neat to me because it doesn't protect Angels, only other things, and it would be fun to have an Angel that protects vampires. So I don't know. Maybe against board wipes from our opponents, that helps protect us there. And, you know, just to fully show you what I mean by just fill the deck up and cut it from there, maybe you want some early removal in white, so you could add some Glass Caskets, you know, maybe you want to add some exile cards from white, so we come over here, maybe we add some Vanishing Lights, maybe we have some Elspeth Conquers Death, maybe we have some Skyclave Apparitions. That's what I'm talking about. Don't be afraid to just click cards and get them into the deck, and let's see what we've come up with. So I think that's a good spot for now. I probably missed stuff, but I'm just giving you the idea of how we build it. Maybe there was a good enchantment. Maybe there's some really good draw cards like a Maze Mind Tome we could have thrown in here. So many choices for you just to have fun with, but start somewhere. Don't take more than 5 to 10 minutes to build a deck before you get into play testing and overthink it. Really get out there and play test, and then you might cut a card completely and add a whole different card in. So you need to see where it goes from there. So right out the gate, I know I only want so many of my higher end cards, so I don't know if this is going to be any good at all. It seems expensive for a 3/3 flyer. Let's leave 1 in the deck. If we hit it and it's just great, cool. Drain of the Last Blood Chief. I only want 2 in the deck because it is a legendary and it's at our top end. a Merstrom, a Predator. So I'm kind of working backwards because of the fact that, you want less of your top end. You don't want to be drawing too many top end cards. It just really feels bad. And so let's do something real quick. Let's pull out everything here that isn't a vampire. And then let's put removal over here. So these are our vampires. This is our protection stuff. And then this is our removal. So we have way too much removal. But let's go ahead and keep working on the deck and how I like to do it. So what kind of removal are we looking for? Let's try keeping in 2 Elspeths and 2 of these. I really don't think I'm going to be doing the frostbite, so let's take those out completely. I don't think we need the shocks. If we're going to go that route, we'll leave in bone crushers. I'm going to cut bone crushers down to 2. So banishing light kind of takes care of anything on either side, and I don't want to get spread out and be too much of a control deck because that's not what we're doing here. So let's just mainly focus on banishing light, and let's take out the glass caskets. Let's add 1 more banishing light so that we're at 3. And let's go ahead. I need to fix that so we can add them without doing that. And let's once again drop down to 1 Elspeth Conquers Death just to see if we like it in the deck. Same thing with Extinction Event 1, more for playtest reasons. We could add more later. And then our removal package is starting to look good. Skyclave Apparition gets rid of anything. So I'm actually going to drop Banishing Light down to 2 and keep the 2 Skyclave Apparitions in and see if maybe I like those. Let's take all of our removals down to 2, and let's decide with Banishing Light, Elspeth Conquers, and Skyclave Apparition. I'm going to stick with Heartlesses in this deck. We're going to get rid of the Eliminates. And see what I mean? We just keep cutting cards and cutting cards until we kind of see where we want to be. I'm going to leave these Selfless Saviors in because we need an early drop. The Glorious Protectors, I'm not sure yet. So removal, what are we at? We have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's cut 2 more removals just to really try to thin the deck down. Maybe Bone Crusher doesn't fit the theme of our deck a whole bunch, but it is our other red card. So once again, I don't know if I want none or if I want 2 or 3, but I'm almost thinking about cutting it. So I'm just going to leave 1 in the deck just for playtest reasons. So this is not going to be a finished version of this deck by any means. If I was building this deck for content, you would never see it at this stage. In most cases, you would see it kind of more at its finishing stages, and then at the end of the video, you see how I do kind of what I'm doing now, but with the deck already and just fine tune it. But so like I said, I've got all these little one-ofs in the deck that just might be the wrong thing, but that's more to test. And now vampires. Let's get into our vampires. So on the top end, these look the good amounts of these. Let's go down to 3 Emerstrom Predators, just since it is a top end. And then we don't have too many Clerics in the deck. We won't eventually have too many. So let's drop that down to 2. I don't know if we're going to be drawing... And then the Null Priests are really good, and our 2 slot is a little thin. So let's leave all the rest of those. So right now, we are really, really heavy on 3 drops. So that means that we need to focus on our 3 drop slot and which ones are the most important to us. So this right here is okay. It's kind of niche. We have to be gaining life. I don't know if I like it. Let's take it down to 1. Once again, I would cut it. But before we cut a card, let's play test it a little. Nighthawk Scavenger, I mean, I think that's just a really, really solid card. Let's leave 4 in. Veto, I don't know how many we even need, if we're going to even be activating that, how often we're going to be gaining life. Let's cut Veto down to 2. Silvermoor Ghoul, I don't know how often we're going to be gaining 3 life, so let's go ahead and cut that down to 2. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. Once again, we're not really focused on that. A 3/2 that gets stomped immediately when it comes out and doesn't come back. Let's go ahead and cut that one completely. I don't think we really need to play test that too much. So now we're at 38 out of 60 cards, and we need to be around 36 so that when we add our land, we know we're going to be at 60 cards. So what other 2 cards just aren't looking super strong or that we have a ton of? I feel like definitely we have a lot of removal. We have 8, 9, 10, 11, so we could go 1 less removal. You know, at this point of the game, I think I'm just going to go ahead and actually, since we are running so many creatures here, I think I am going to cut the Extinction Event. I can always add it back if need be. We'll see. And then we have room to play over here with either like a Null Priest or maybe the Nighthawk Scavenger. And being that we're super heavy on 3 drops and we really don't need that. In fact, I feel like one of these is going to underperform and we're going to have to fix our 3 drops a little. So well, I think that's good. We give us 36 now out of 60 cards. We have an average of 2.8. We've got removal. We've got high-end creatures, low-end creatures. You know, so we've got some protection creatures. Now we got to do our land. So the first thing we want to do, obviously, is let's get those pathways in there. There's no so the deck, as you see, is mainly black with some white and a tiny bit of red. So what are we going to do? We're going to start out with the pathways that are black-red, because those are basically free for us, and then the ones that are black-white. those are just basically free force, because now we're still running black, but we've got some white and we've got some red in there. Now, you always want to go ahead and check out your triomes, just in case. I can never memorize them. So we've got black, red, white, black, red, white. So instead of adding a whole bunch of different tap lands like temples or anything like that, you can get some scries out of that. I know. I'm going to add in 4 triomes personally. We're also going to add in some fabled passages. Okay. And from there, our land base looks really good. Now we've got 4 ways to produce white, 4 ways to produce red, and we've got 8 ways to produce black. And we're not even including the triome. We've got 8 more lands that we need, and the deck, like I said, is mainly skewed towards one color. So the way I would run this is it's mainly black. So let's go ahead and grab some swamps. Click the land. I'm going to go with my Bob Rosses. So we have 8 left. The deck is mainly swamps. I'm going to start out with 4 swamps. Then from there, we know it goes white. So let's go plains. I'm going to add 3 plains and then mountains. I'm going to add one more Bob Ross. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you build a deck. We've got it. We made a deck. So before we actually start taking something out like this out on the ladder, what I like to do now is we have another job. We can't just say that the deck is done even though it looks like it's done. So what we have to do now is we have to test the deck. But before we test the deck, there's one more important thing to do. What's your favorite card in the deck? What do you think's the hard hitter? What do you think's just really good looking art? Today, I really like the art of this Silvermoor Ghoul, even though it's probably going to get cut. That's what I'm going to do. And then super important to the deck just won't run right is you got to pick a sleeve. Got to pick a sleeve. I'm going to go with this one of the ones I just got. And then you have to play test the deck. So let's go ahead and save it. Let's get over to our home base, hit play. So, and we got some blue, black spells that we can complete, and we got kill your opponent spells we can complete. So that's nice. So we go over here, and now we just need to get 5 to 10 reps. Okay, so now after you've done those 5 to 10 games, go ahead and try it out on the ladder. After every game, if there's a card that just didn't seem to work with the deck, go ahead and change it. After 5 or 10 games, go and change the deck dramatically if you think it's just not working, or sometimes you just got to know when to delete a deck. So let's look at the next way that we go about building decks here, and that's net decking or copy pasting, however you want to look at it, taking someone else's deck and making it your own. So I've got an example right here, and this is a Teamer Adventure deck. So this weekend was the Kaldheim Championships, and this is one of the decks that hit the top 8. So this is a Teamer Adventure deck by Javier Dominguez. I think Teamer Adventure is just a really strong deck right now. We've never showcased it on the channel, and so let me show you how we take a deck like this. Let's take a look at the deck, exactly what it is, and then how we would modify it. We do have a sideboard because this is a best of 3 deck, and we're focusing on best of 1. So what do? First off, we have Obosh. So we know already that everything in the deck is odd mana cost. So what do we got? We got some Incapers. We've got a Jasperella, a Sentinel, a Shadow Spear. We've got some Mystical Disputes, Brazen Borrow, Sarka. I mean, we've got, you see them all. We've got Elder Gargoths. So this deck currently, the way best of 3 decks are set up is they're kind of more well-rounded against everything that could come at you, but then it could take things out like the one Shadow Spear, the one Sentinel, you know, cards like that. Maybe some of the Brazen Borrows, maybe the Mystical Disputes. These are the one Elder Gargoth. These are all cards that could come out and get replaced with sideboard cards later. We don't have that option in best of 1. So what are we going to do? What cards help us in the current meta? So what you want to do is, if you don't have Arena Assistant already, you're going to want to go ahead and you get Arena Assistant. And then once you do, you're going to want to come right up here, click on Arena Assistant, go ahead and come over here to Metagame, best of 1, and just kind of take a look at what decks are at the top. You don't really need to scroll down, just the top deck. So we've got a white and a red rush deck. We've got Sultai Control, more rush and mono white, kind of control, kind of rush, tempo, Demir Mill, Gruul Aggro, and then the mirror match. So you just gotta kind of keep those things in mind while you're building the deck. So the way the deck sits right now, this is more for the first game in best of 3. They have the sideboard that they can, you know, draw from in games 2 and 3. We don't have that option in best of 1. So what is strong and what isn't strong? So we've got a 1 of Shadow Spear here, which I think is for things like Toski and all those other pesky indestructibles and stuff like that that's going around right now, or hexproof. You know, you could have somebody best the Sea God you got an 8/8 Kraken you're staring down at, you use the Shadow Spear ability, and now you can Brazen Borrow or their 8/8 token, and it just disappeared. So I definitely think we keep that in the deck. One Jespera Sentinel, being that we're only going to be able to tap and get extra mana with like an Edgewater, because turn 2 none of these are going to come out as creatures. I'm going to go ahead and pull that. Mystical Dispute, this is a really good card in best of 3. They usually get cut against decks they don't need it in. Well, we don't know what we're playing against, so let's go ahead and cut those. Everything else looks pretty good from here in my opinion. The land looks solid. We don't really want to replace anything here at the moment that I'm seeing, but let's finish the deck out and let's take a look at the land after that. So Elder Gargaroth is really good against multiple different rush decks if you can get it to the board before you die. Let's go ahead and add that, and let's go ahead and come back to the better view. So now we got 3 more cards that we can add in. Let's go ahead and take a peek at the sideboard. I'm going to delete cards from the sideboard as I go through them, because if you don't have them, why craft them? So I just get rid of those anyways for best of 1. If I have the cards and it's complete sideboard, I just leave it, because why not? But let's pull from the sideboard in this example, but keep in mind, you can always pull from other sources. If we wanted to add something like the snowlands, so that we could use frostbite, or anything like that, it doesn't have to be from the sideboard that you're pulling from, is my point. So red cap melee, just not what we need for this format and this meta. Run afoul, nah. Shadow Spear, we have one, and I don't think we really need 2. Mystical Dispute, we took those out, don't need any more. Sock Coming, we're going to add 1 in because we did take out the Mystical Disputes. So we are now a little bit shy on our Sock Coming, or on our counter magic, and it works so good when it's foretold with Goldspan Dragon. So let's go ahead and add a 3rd one of those in. Crush the Weak is extremely good in the current meta, especially against aggro like mono white before it gets too big, red, stuff like that. But I'm not going to include it myself right now. Soul Seer is another one that's really, really good against certain cards, but we have Shadow Spear that kind of takes the place of that. Unfortunately, with Shadow Spear, you also have to have another card on top of it to do its job, to do what Soul Seer is doing, but we're not going to play any, so I'm going to cut those. I like Klothys. I think Klothys is really strong in a deck that has green-red. You can win games, especially against control, where you just were getting shut down, but you had them at 6, 8 life. You just got to get through a few more turns, finish it out. You could add in a second one. Very good argument there, but I'm going to add the last card being an Ox, because Ox of Agonis is just good against anybody milling you, such as rogues, and then you can start drawing cards and getting rid of cards from your graveyard so that they don't get those benefits. So that is how we take a best of 3 deck over here at the Brew Crew and turn it into a best of 1 deck. Let me know what you think down below about any of the content we've been putting out. If you like this video or any of our other videos, please give this a like, subscribe to the channel. As soon as we hit that 100 subscriber landmark, we are giving away 3,400 gems for free to one of our subscribers. We're super excited to do that, so please help us out, share the video, and as always, until next time, have a blast in the arena.